Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, Session Interrupted. Also, the V-Team takes a look at some very silly bills. And the legislature leaves Sine Die, which is Latin for me. We can't screw this up anymore.
What's the idea? Stop tickling my foot. I didn't touch your foot. You did too. Come on up here and sleep with us. Hey, wake up and go to sleep.
Kind of sums it up for me. Bye-bye. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by the V-Team. Welcome.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Welcome back, Charlie.
Hello. Happy to be back.
Yeah. Now an official New York Times freelance reporter.
Yes. Thank you so much.
How about that?
Congratulations.
Good job.
Josh, I have to say that I think the success or failures of this session might go back to the origins when Governor Kay Ivey called a special session just right after the state of the state. And really, for the next 2 weeks, people were cajoled, bribed, and threatened to pass an infrastructure gas tax. And I think that was sort of a body blow to the body politic. And it set a tone that I don't think you're ever recovered from.
No, I don't think so. And really, you know, if you take them at their word, this the cajoling and bribing went back much further in the past there. But yeah, no, I think it did. I think it did set a tone. I think it set. There were a lot of people who heard from their constituents back home that they were very unhappy, and so I think it made a lot of people very wary of what was going on there, and they weren't quite as bold. Now, obviously, you know, we saw some pretty bold thing afterwards, but you know, I don't think that there was the number of things, the ambition wasn't there after that I think we saw early on.
And Susan, not every one of us on the panel here was for that. We were kind of for the gas tax, but you know, it kind of, they had to do so much arm twisting, and some of the people that voted for it really didn't want to vote for it, and so it caused them some problems.
It did, and usually it takes them at least, I don't know, a month or so before they begin hating each other.
Yeah.
This time it took 2 weeks.
Yeah, right.
So, and there were a lot of promises made that were broken later. There's a lot that went on with that gas tax that just really, it just kind of marred down the whole session getting off to a good start.
What bothered me the most about it was that, I mean, I think several, you know, bills and things were thrown around, you know, when they were trying to convince people to vote, not to vote. Like the medical marijuana bill, I think might have been one of them. But what really bothered me was something as important as Medicaid expansion was toyed with. And they used that as, you know, like a ploy to get people to vote for their bill, and then to completely disregard it. Just
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the things to get the Democrats on board. They said, we'll help you with medical marijuana and we'll help you with Medicaid expansion. And they did not do either one.
Yeah, you know, it was those things, you know, the lottery bills as well, you know, they kind of went back on their word on some of that stuff. You know, it was a lot of, but, you know, at this point, Democrats have kind of come to expect that, I think. You know, and I think the gas tax was their first, you know, olive branch to the Republicans to say, listen, we're going to take you at your word. And then as the session after that happened, I think that also bogged down some of this. You saw them kind of go back on their word on a lot of that, and then all of a sudden now Democrats weren't on board with them, and that undermined the lottery bill.
Well,
as
and
well.
it also, let's not forget that because the Republicans also that didn't vote for that gas tax were immediately beginning to be punished for it. Whether it wasn't their bills weren't getting through, their bills weren't being brought up at all, or they were being removed from committees, they were being removed from leadership, all the time going, oh, this is not punishment. When
Oh, it has
everybody
nothing to
knows
do
it
with
was.
it, of course.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing is this is not the way to build a healthy coalition.
Yeah.
Where one, you don't allow people to vote their conscience, and two, if you make a deal, you don't keep your word. And I think we've seen two of those things happen, and then to punish people for voting their conscience, I think, is just reprehensible.
And let's not forget, in one of those instances, one of the promises after the fact, they said, oh, no, we never made a promise, which made out the people that said, well, I was promised, look like a liar.
Liars.
Yeah.
Well, the Republicans in the Senate promised us that they would not use the gas tax money for anything but roads, bridges, and the Port of Mobile, but they broke that promise, Susan, within, 2 months of making it?
Yeah, was it that long?
I don't even think it was
I
2
don't think it was that long, no. The first thing they did was Orr comes up with a bill to get a big grab for the inland waterways, which means basically dredging marinas, not dredging the Port of Mobile to make money for the state, but, some personal pet projects.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, we wrote about it and talked about it, and that bill just went the way of the dodo. It died.
It was dredged itself. And it was, this was the sort of thing that people who had a problem with the gas tax and having that big pool of money out there kind of feared, was that you weren't going to have the oversight. And even if you promised the oversight, if you don't put the specifics in the bill, you're going to have things like this take place. And so immediately, they didn't even wait one session to come back and say, hey, how about some of that gas tax money?
Well, they will be back next year trying to get some of that money. But I had someone who had just moved back here and was working on this, had worked on the gas tax, and they said, is this the way they always are? She said, they just gave their word, and now they're doing this. And I went, always.
And to make everybody that supported the gas tax look like liars when we said they won't use it for anything else but roads and bridges.
The crazy thing to me, is, really and truthfully, is I talked to some D.C. people, and they said, if our people did that up here, nobody trusts us. But we do it here.
All the time.
All the time.
Distrust has become a way of life.
That has.
Really.
Well, if they think they've got the swamp up there, they don't have a swamp. That's a marsh. This is a swamp. Well, the other thing that I think that disrupted the session, no matter how you feel about abortion, pro-choice, pro-life, the thing is Susan, this bill forced a lot of people to also vote. They may be pro-life and anti, or they may not want abortions to happen, but the rape and the incest thing was a bridge too far, but they voted for it anyway.
They voted for it anyway, and a lot of them were uncomfortable with the rape and incest being, taken out of there, but they still voted for it anyway, which it made the members upset. It just pushed the envelope too far.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say this real quick. I don't care if you're going to get primaried. Don't vote for a bill if it's against your conscience.
There you go.
My God.
That was the thing they were worried about, is getting primaried to the right.
That sounds so simple when you say it. It is. It was terrible, and it bogged things down, and it caused a lot of hurt feelings. All of the Democrats in the House left before the vote, and the Republicans gave themselves a standing ovation.
Yeah. So. Well, we're gonna have to leave it right there. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back. Look at some very, very silly bills that took place.
What a great opportunity for your success. Adding 500,000 highly skilled employees to our workforce by 2025 is how we stay ahead in Alabama. Our economy is stronger than it's been in years, and a skilled workforce is more important than ever. Things move fast, so choose your path. Your success is waiting. plus a great future for Alabama. Success Plus. Go for it.
The Energy Institute of Alabama promotes reliable, affordable, and clean energy to help grow our economy, create high-paying jobs, and build public support for Alabama's energy industry. The Energy Institute of Alabama is the best source of energy industry information and how it affects households across the state, from convenient energy production to alternative fuels to solar power and beyond.
What are you doing today, babe?
I thought I'd head down to the lake with the guys, do a little fishing. Of course, none of us will be wearing our seatbelts. I'll lose control of the truck, wrap it around a tree, and kill us all.
Okay.
Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
Welcome back to The V, the voice of Alabama politics. Susan, they passed a $7.1 billion education budget. They are calling it historic. It actually gives teachers a 4% pay raise.
Wow.
I don't know if they'd call that historic. But it is better than nothing. And it looks like a good education budget all the way around.
It looks like a good education budget, but we've so grossly underfunded. I know we were talking to an educator the other night who said that it was great and fine that they got new textbooks, but they didn't buy enough workbooks for the students to actually use the textbooks. So I don't know exactly. I mean, it's great that we've got a large budget here, but I don't think we're using it wisely.
Yeah. Well, Josh, I mean that's not shocking, is it?
No.
Is there anything surprising?
I'm pretty sure our state motto should be, it's better than nothing. No, listen, we're about $1 billion behind when you account for inflation and per pupil funding from where we were in 2008 here. That's how far we've lagged behind and how far our education dollars have failed to keep up with the actual spending that we need to be doing here. And so, all these other things that we talk about in education, where we're now blaming, apparently the state school board is to blame for all of our ills, and so we're just going to appoint them because, who knows better than the lawmakers. But so all of the problems go back to the same thing, is funding here. The way we have funded certain schools and certain districts, you look at all of them, all of our lowest performing schools are all tragically underfunded and in poverty-stricken areas. And I mean, it's a pretty simple equation. When you have the top schools, like say Mountain Brook, and the folks in Mountain Brook continue to pour money into their schools, there's a reason why they're doing that. I mean, money doesn't solve everything. It doesn't solve all of your problems, and there are some management issues that take place in all over the place. But money solves a lot of the problems.
If the state funded Auburn and Alabama football like they do the schools and parts of Montgomery, we would not win a game.
No,
we would not win a game. And that is the problem. You've got to have money to attract the best and the brightest coaches, teachers, all that. But we don't do it.
No.
We don't do it. There was one thing I thought that was particularly well done and this comes out of the Education Trust Fund budget, is the expansion of broadband services to rural Alabamians, Susan.
Yes, this means that, students will actually be able to do their homework without having to do it at the school or passing on it or sitting at McDonald's for mom to get mom sitting at McDonald's with them to get their homework done on the Wi-Fi there. It'll also expand out so that farmers and our agricultural industries will be able to get more technology that they need in these remote locations to be able to farm better and more profitable.
I just feel like we've been saying all session, we've just been constantly asking each other, like, what good thing has happened this session, what good thing is it? But I think we finally have something that is a good thing that came out of this session.
Well, I think
Very excited about
you look at people your age and a little bit older. I mean, without technology like we have here, there is no learning. There's no real chance for growth. I mean,
'Cause
there's not even a social life.
There's
for most
not.
part.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. How many, 15 through 20-something-year-olds are you going to find in a library right now?
Right.
None.
Right.
None.
Yeah, unless they're using
If-
the Wi-Fi.
Well,
Unless they're using their Wi-Fi, exactly.
But, you know,
without that,
I
we're
think-
cut off. I mean,
Listen, I just want to, it is a good bill, and I'm not knocking the bill at all. I just want to make sure that it doesn't turn into the typical Alabama thing where a few people get rich.
Yeah.
And the actual outcome of this isn't what people hope that it is. I just want to beg them to please put in the Wi-Fi for these kids and these communities.
Well, I think one of the positive things, there's a couple of bills that Senator Clay Schofield had one, and Representative Randall Shedd had another one. And Randall Shedd's bill basically allows people like Alabama Power, Power South, other cooperatives are making the broadband available over their electric easements, and they're taking on the burden of some of these things rather than depend on a cable company or people that are fighting over access for dollars. I mean, these electric companies already have access to the home.
And kudos to them for volunteering to do that.
But you know what's a dang shame, Susan, is in 1989 or 90 in Huntsville, when we lived in Huntsville, we had DSL, which at that time was very high speed.
Oh, it was the highest you could get.
To the pole in Huntsville.
This is pre-T3, folks.
And that-
It was out in front of our house.
Yeah, and this is why Huntsville's always been the growth area, because they had the technology.
Yeah, I mean, Google came by my house the other day and wanted to know if I'd like to have their service. So,
There you go.
I mean, yeah, it's just, it can change a kid's life.
Sure.
There,
It really can.
for the access that they have and being able to do their homework.
And I want to get to this next thing, and we'll probably have to take this over into the next segment, but that's okay too. One of the big battles this session was over the lottery. We had a very good lottery bill that Jim McClendon put together. There was this outrageous fake lottery bill put out there by Tom Albritton. It was never meant to pass.
Not Tom
Greg.
Albritton.
Greg.
Greg Albritton.
Greg Albritton.
Greg
Greg
Albritton.
Albritton.
Yeah, Greg Albritton. Never meant to pass. Always just a front to stall out the lottery, give people hope, and then dash it away. It lost at the last minute because it was a bad bill.
Yeah.
But one of the things that has happened, Josh, and this is why we'll probably have to hold this over, is that this has started a dialogue between the Porch Band of Creek Indians, who basically control gaming in the state, and the dog track owners and others who have a vested interest in gaming as to how we might bring all those sides together and work out a deal that they can live with, but much more important, that makes it better for the people of the state of Alabama.
Yeah, there is a deal to be made here on this, and I think first of all, I think voters should remember for a long time what Greg Albritton did here, and not let that go unpunished in the future. But I think that when you get back to looking at the future of gambling in this state, I think that there are some people that are now coming together that you have to have at the table in order for there to be a big bill put together. All right. And so I think that's where we are now, is that those folks are feeling each other out, trying to figure out whether or not they can make that deal. And if they do, I think there's a lot of money to be made for the Porch Band of Creek Indians, a lot more than what they're making now, which is hard to fathom.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot to be made for the dog track owners, and there's also a lot to be made for the citizens of the state of
And
Alabama.
that's my major concern. We're going to have to hold it right there. We'll pick this back up after the break. You're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back with more lottery talk.
You've always dreamed of owning a home and investing in your community, but where do you start? Ask a local realtor about Alabama's new first-time homebuyer savings account. If you're looking to buy your first home or are re-entering the market after 10 years, contact your realtor to learn how to set up a tax-free savings account at any Alabama financial institution. Savings of up to $50,000 can be used as your down payment or towards closing costs. The first step on the road to home ownership. Let us help you get there.
Hey man, what are you doing today?
Playing the game. Thought I'd go out for a drive later, maybe. Text some friends while I'm doing it. Scroll through social media. Kill a family 4 and a head-on collision.
Cool, man.
Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
A lot can change in 5 years. Except those smile lines you treated with Bellafill. Because that's about how long Bellafill will keep them smooth and filled. 5 years. Now you can always look your best without all those injections, appointments, and costs. Bellafill is the only dermal filler that stimulates and maintains collagen growth long term. Now time is on your side.
Welcome back to The V, the voice of Alabama politics. I wanted to stay on this just a little bit longer, Josh, because I think the thing that's very important that we discuss here is that, again, Greg Albritton did not do the people of Alabama any favors. We could have done this time. He should not have the position he has as General Trust Fund, the head of that. I think he needs to go away from that job. I think he does not have the integrity to have such a job. That's my personal opinion. But this deal has real possibilities if the Porch Creek Band of Indians and the track owners and the state can work in good faith.
Yeah, I do. I think that it has a good possibility there because there's gains to be made here for both of them. And so I think that there are pluses and minuses for both sides, obviously. But I think that if they come together and everybody kind of negotiates in good faith, and you remove the people who have for so long surrounded this, who have an interest in keeping it going.
Right.
There are a lot of people out there who benefit greatly over this fight never ending.
That's right. Both on the Porch Creek side,
yes,
absolutely,
and
on the
and in the legislature. There's a lot of money that has flown into those guys' coffers over the years. Just because they're on one side or the other, and that they don't want to see that dry up. I would much rather that money go to the people of Alabama. Yep. To scholarships, to education programs, to pre-K, that sort of thing. And I think we can do that. And I think that we have a couple of level-headed guys there that can lead that on both sides, from the Porch Creeks and from the track owners. I think there are some people who can lead that kind of charge and will talk to one another now at this point. And I think we can do it.
And I hope. Well, I want to move on from that to some of the things that might cause you to wonder, what were they thinking? Okay.
And other phrases.
So, there's some that are not fit for television. But one of the things is that it is now mandatory for K through K-12 students to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I have known and stood and said the Pledge of Allegiance since before I knew what the Pledge of Allegiance meant. I was raised in that kind of family. Most of us in Alabama are. But there are folks that say, do we really have to make them stand? Do we have to have a law? I mean, we come this far.
Does anybody else smell a constitutional challenge coming here but me? It's another one of these lawsuits just waiting to happen, and they know it.
And I'm not trying to, bash on the Bible thumpers and everything, but the under God thing does play a significant role in children with differing religions. You can't force that on a child. So obviously they can. There you go.
Well, that's the point. I mean, if you have a Muslim child, do they say one nation under Allah? I mean, that's really a question I think is
Can they take
fair.
What are you going to do to them if they don't stand?
That's my question.
I think
did they legislate it?
We kick them off the team and we fine them, right?
It's amazing they didn't legislate it. They love to legislate everything else.
Well, they always say you can't legislate morality. Guess what?
Just arrest them. Just arrest them.
Throw all the kids in jail.
Do it.
We're going to have new prisons anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, we got these new prisons. Make a daycare ward.
I'm all for the pledge. I do not think we ought to force children to pledge allegiance. It sounds a lot like fascism and
Yeah,
communism to me.
maybe you just make the country great enough that you want it to pledge to,
Maybe,
Okay,
but,
you can be proud of it.
all right,
Whoa.
now
I know.
if you are worried that our legislature has finally come to its senses, as we all know, we passed a bill this year that says you can hunt Bambi and Porky over food.
Yeah, so you can feed them all year long like your dog, and then hunt them.
Then pop them in the head with a cap. Yeah.
You can literally just sit at a lawn chair,
Yeah.
throw some corn on the ground, and just wait it out.
Not hunting.
And it's
Waiting.
taken them, what, 6
Waiting.
years to pass it? I mean,
Well,
this has been going on forever.
But I feel free. I feel a lot freer. My freedoms, my liberties.
I really look forward to their Facebook posts.
Now, I know this is one, Josh, I know that you and Charlie love this one.
Best bill of the session right here, baby.
If anyone is caught driving in the left-hand lane for more than a mile and a half, and they're under the speed limit, what happens?
You get, somehow they're going to enforce that, what's the penalty
penalty.
for it? Death penalty. Death penalty. That's what I couldn't remember.
So if you're doing the speed limit in the left lane, somebody can arrest you, they can force you off the road and shoot you, right?
Well, I think, first of all, I think there needed to be a provision in here that allowed me to make a citizen's arrest.
Well, you're going to need that, though.
Yeah, because I don't know exactly how they're going to enforce that. But, I mean, if there's a law, maybe it will encourage people to just move the hell over.
It doesn't encourage y'all to not do 190 miles an hour.
I'm just letting you know, I'm an avid left lane driver. I am not deterred.
And exactly, we got 250 state troopers on the road. Really? They're going to follow people a mile and a half to figure out if they're breaking. What do they do if it's a mile and a quarter?
Well, we can always get Jonathan and his people out there on the highway.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
I think this one I didn't put on the agenda because I didn't know what kind of graphic you could use for this, but there was one piece of legislation that did not pass, and that was where a lawmaker wanted to make it okay to sanitize human waste and put it on fields. Now, to promote that, Susan, he took a bag of basically freeze-dried poop around to all the senators and handed it out. Charlie, didn't we learn as children, don't hand me that?
It was so popular, it ended up with the Stroud Award this year.
Yes, the worst bill.
And I mean, and the runners-up were just the ban of bags and plastic bags and all these ridiculous ones. But that one took the cake.
I think it's pretty good symbolism though for the session itself.
Yeah.
Just do a bag of freeze-dried poop.
Yeah, there you go. Well, and to show Josh that we are one of 50 progressive states. Nah.
Wait a minute.
We passed fantasy sports. We can now bet on fantasy sports here in the heart of Dixie.
Because it's skill. It's not chance, right?
It is skill.
I know.
I mean, it's chance to lose, but if you like to win, it's some skill involved. And listen, I will say for the folks, the FanDuels and DraftKings sites that do this, they put a lot of things in over the last few years that really make that show people, how you got to be professional. You got to know what you're doing. Here's how many people who have played these games multiple times are playing in this one. So I think they've taken some steps to ensure that you're not just some Joe Blow in there fighting against experts.
No, and they do a great job of it. We're a good bill. It passed. We had some very sad news this week. State Representative Jimmy Martin passed. He will be missed. You've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.